Okay, I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting. It is August 27, 2025, 7 p.m. Let's stand and do Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Andrews, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Trombley?
Yep.
Mr. Montry?
Here.
Mr. Dersch?
Here.
Mr. Lake?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Andrews is here, and Mr. Helm.
Here.
Okay, moving on. Item 4, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Support.
Mr. Dersch supports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, moving on to item 5, approval of the minutes from June 11, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2025 as submitted.
Support.
Okay, support from Mr. Dersch. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, moving on to item 6, public comment, limit to 3 minutes per person. Anybody care to speak? Okay, moving on to item 7, new business. There's no new business. So we'll move on to item 8, old business. Item A, Bedford Township CIP discussion, Park Commission. Is there somebody from the Park Commission who would like to come up and speak?
Yes, and I will let the commission know that this was due to the request to have each head of department to make sure that they were involved giving information and updates to the commission. So starting with the Park Commission, and then we will move on for a desire for the clerk and the supervisor, if that's still so desired by the commission. Mr. Niederpour
Yes.
is here to speak on behalf of
the Parks Board is here to talk to us.
Okay.
Anything you want to say off the bat?
We've been doing quite a few improvements over at Car Park so far this summer. Al's been wanting to take a different approach with the parks and do a park by park, year by year basis. So far we've been tackling some stuff at Car Park. And then next he wants to shift over to White Park next. As we both know, both playscapes at both of those parks are in desperate need of replacement. So I think that's where our next focus is going to be. As far as that goes, I'm just trying to find, I've got our master plan, I'm trying to get to a certain page. As far as, okay, yeah, I'm here now. So, not our master plan. Bob, do you have that copy of that? Because I don't have that in front of me, what's up there.
Bob, if you want to come up and...
Yeah.
If they, you're good. Okay.
All right.
I'll just say if you want to input any information.
Okay. So the pavilion is still working right now. Mannequin Smith is currently doing an evaluation. I just found out that they said that the roof is good on it. It's just the supports that need replaced, and then the concrete also is going to need some work too. So that's something that they're looking into as well. As far as the basketball court sidewalk for ADA compliance at White Park, the money is there. It hasn't come on our agenda yet. Nobody has said anything about it yet, so I was going to talk with Al this week and see if he wants to get that on the agenda next and try to get that started because the money's there. But then I've talked to one of our commissioners on the Park Commission, and he was saying, well, why are we doing this? I get for it's ADA compliant, but the parking lot's not ADA. Well, we're going to have to make a parking space area to make that ADA compliant, with handicap spot and concrete pad, if that's going to be part of the project or not, I don't know, but I get what he's saying. In the meantime, I've been looking at different websites from the several playscape manufacturers there are, such as BCI Burke, Miracle, which is where our current playscapes are from, that are aging, Plain Park Structures, as well as Playcore and a few other ones. Been looking at what they have on their websites, seeing what type of designs they have. One of them also has some other pre-designed, pre-planned playscapes that you could pick from that have a price tag next to them. They seem really nice, so we're looking into what we want to do as far as what ideas we want. We do want to do inclusive playscapes at White, and I'm leaning towards doing it at a car as well, just because of the high usage at both. And right now we're trying to look at what the engineering costs are going to be. If these companies do the engineering, if they do, great, that saves us time from having to deal with Manikin Smith, as well as what are the installation costs and shipping and any design costs. Some of these manufacturers I've noticed while looking on their website, some of them do also help with grant funding. So we're looking into that as well, every avenue we can, as well as doing some potential community donations and sponsorships. Right now we're trying to do everything we can to avoid doing a millage and increasing property taxes. So if there's any other questions you have besides potentially, I'm not sure how much it's going to cost, but Wheeler Preserve, the invasive trees over there are really horrid. Spider lanternfly is very active over there on the Tree of Heaven. There's a lot of black locusts. In fact, there's one section of the park where there's a lot of trees and it's so thick it's all black locusts. So the cost of eradicating a lot of the invasive stuff, I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I've already went out there with 3 different tree companies last week and got different feedback from each of them as far as how we should start and what approach we should take. So that's also something else to look into.
I'm just going to touch base, and I'm not sure of the exact verbiage, but I believe there's some restrictions with Wheeler Park, and so maybe we will look at that further in discussion once you get a better understanding.
Yes.
I'm not sure what can be taken down or that nature. So right now, I don't believe looking at cutting down trees at Wheeler Park is probably up for discussion until we find out for sure whatever the restrictions are on the park. Unless, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but do you know of any of them, Craig?
No.
No? Okay.
I know it is in the master plan
Definitely don't know
to
the-
eradicate the invasive stuff from what I've seen. It is on there to remove those 2 types of trees.
Do
I
we,
know if it's on the master plan, but I think there were some conditions.
Some sort
with
of,
it.
there's some, Miss Keene might know that
Yeah,
type
some-
of answer.
I know they
more
can't
than I
build any
would.
structures or anything
I don't
either.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
if they
remember
are
there's
either.
something.
Something. So
for
I think
sure.
we should look into it before we start allocating or giving money towards the park for that reason.
As far as I know, with the restrictions there, not a single structure can be built there, not even a bathroom building. And from what I was told previously as well, that gravel parking lot was a battle just to get that gravel parking area put in because of the deed restriction. Well, that tells you something. All that's there is just a ADA accessible porta-john.
Yes,
So-
it's called Wheeler Nature Preserve, so I'm not sure the process that will take. There may be more cost than just cutting down the trees is what my concern is that this has to be determined that they're invasive species by the state or anything of that nature. We want to make sure we're not putting the cart before the horse.
Plant. Did you have a question?
yeah, my question, I guess, and I may be answering it looking at this, we don't have any capital assets at Wheeler.
No.
No, it's not, but I think that was what they were looking at, but it's something to take into consideration should it ever change going forward.
It's a capital project to do tree removal.
If it is considered invasive species, we could.
It's just getting worse. I mean, the lanternflies over there are alive and well. And the third company I walked with out there, we were walking along the path at one point, and he was trying to show me what the seed pods look like. Because some of them, you can see up top, they got the seed pods, they're all nice and yellow. And there were a bunch of them on the ground, too. Like, there was a whole cluster of like 40 to 50 of them that were all brown. And I said, are these all dead? And he's like, no, those are ripe, ready to be planted. So we actually scooped up seed pods that we were able to find and threw them away because that was a lot of trees that were going to start growing. So it's only getting worse with time. I know it's kind of been like on the back burner, flying under the radar, but it's something that should be taken care of soon, or started at least.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. What, if I may, Mr. Chair, what type of deed restriction is this? Is this like a conservation deed restriction, or?
I'm not 100% sure. It didn't come to my department. I just know that it was dedicated and given to the township, but there were restrictions that were put on it that cannot be done on the property, and it's called Wheeler Nature Preservation, so I'm not sure what all that is preserving, but I don't know what the township, it would be a township board's decision to determine whether they're going to cut any type of trees or anything down.
Do we have a contact at Eagle or DNR that's working with us on it?
Not yet. I was actually about to reach out to DNR as well to see if they've got any programs or resources that we can utilize as well for this. I was going to also reach out to the county conservation district as well, but as far as the restrictions, I know it's in regards to development.
If you want to reach out to Ms. Rector to get my contact info, I can get you hooked up with
I would encourage to reach out to the supervisor, because it is going to be a township board.
Sure.
Planning Commission is not going to make a decision on what trees are going to be removed. So it's something the township board accepted, so I would encourage to reach out to the township supervisor to move that forward, or get with Mr. Montry.
Okay.
Josh, thanks for coming tonight. And I just want to say I appreciate that you've brought up the CIP in a couple of your Parks Board meetings. And
Thank you.
I'm glad you're talking about it.
It matters a lot, and there's a lot of potential in these parks if we actually do something. I want to see the community get more involved with it, and not just be, just a few people running the show, and it's all on us to figure out what we're going to do as far as money that goes. I'm going to say publicly, I'm not in favor of adding a tax millage and increasing taxes, especially given that our township does have a lot of seniors that are on fixed incomes as well. So I want to look at different avenues as far as funding, besides not just grants, but also looking at community involvement as well.
And speaking of the grants, I have a question. How much research has the board put into that?
Not so much. I know back in the wintertime, we were applying for a DNR grant. I think it was for the building a car. As far as I know, we didn't get it because we didn't hear anything back from them. But the DNR, they do it every year, grants. So what happens is when you go to the Secretary of State and you get that recreation passport and your license, all that money goes back to the DNR, and they use that money to support and grant fund these projects for different places all across the state. If you go on that website and you see the grant page, you can also see a list of all these different grants they've awarded, different parts of the state, what county, what city or village, and what the project was and how much there was. The only stipulation is that it will give you, I think it's from $7,000 up to $150,000, but you also have to back 25% of the project as well.
And you brought up something interesting at the last meeting. Our parks, any plan should include inclusivity into the design, and that might open some avenues, I think, if you guys research into that. My concern is just, this year, next year, it's probably going to be easy to allocate money to pay for these projects that are coming up. But I'm worried about 2029, 2030, 2035, and it's looking pretty steep. And I don't know if, Bob, you can answer the question. Is it easy for the board just to allocate the money from a general fund, a rainy day fund, or how does it work?
Comes from this fund.
Thank you. The way it works is, by the end of January, what I like to see is you would complete this plan, send it to me, and then you're going to say, okay, according to all of our needs, that you're going to need, let's say, $600,000 to set aside to fund your projects for that year. So I take that, and as I'm doing the entire township budget, we're looking for anywhere where we can save money or allocate money to not only this fund, but the other capital fund and all of our other projects. And we just have to get it to net to zero. In this case here, we knew we needed more than $400,000 for this year, but that's all that we could come up with. So for allocation, that's how it works. Everybody's fighting for the money.
Of course. That's why I wonder, like in 2028, there's going to be $101,000 shortfall. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be an easy pill for the board to swallow?
It is what it is. You have to either generate more revenue or reduce some of these projects. Maybe you got to go through here. Do you really need, a $500,000 playscape, or can you get away with a $200,000 one? Or can you push these out further? Do they have to be done in the time frame?
Can money be allocated from one thing to the parks, taken away from something that maybe isn't quite the priority that maybe a playscape is at a pop?
It's going to be hard to move it from another fund to this fund because they're going through the same thing. In the other capital fund, we're doing all the road projects and all the other projects. They all need money.
So I guess when you look at these coming years, do you like, oh, boy?
Yes, and I do that, with all the funds. You look at it and says, we do not have sufficient funds to cover all the projects we want. Just like it is at home, you want the car, the boat, the vacation home. You got to decide, and that's what this ranking is. Let's get the essential ones done, use the money that you have to get those done, and then once you get those done, then you go to the desirable.
I get that, and I'm just looking at the
Yeah.
essential ones that are totaling 101,500 in 2028, 65,000 in 2029, another close to 50,000 in 2030.
Yep. Grants are a great opportunity to help offset some of this.
What is a useful life of a playscape? Do you have those discussions like when you talk to these vendors?
I've not talked to any vendors just yet. I'm starting to make those phone calls this week as far as getting some of the beginning process done as far as figuring out design and then also figuring out costs of like the installation, shipment, and engineering as well, if some of them do it or not. Generally, from what I've seen, about 20 years or so. I mean, we know ours are about 20 some odd years plus, and we know what state they're in right now, especially at White and Carr, and we've already had to replace a handful of items on both playscapes.
So the current ones are about 20 years old.
Yeah, Carr, I think that was built 2002. I think White was built 2003. They're right around that time frame. I mean, I was just a little toddler when they were built, so they're pretty old.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Edecor or Mr. Miller?
Question maybe for the group here. Are we just going to look at the park commission items and the essential, or are we also going to focus on desirable? Or like I guess some of my questions would be, when I think about, and don't take this the wrong way, right? So I see like pave the walking trail for ADA compliance. Is that something that is required of us to go do, or is it something that we can kind of scrub off the list because it's only required if it's, as it's a nice to do, it's not a need to do, right? Think about some of these other projects on here that might be a little bit more important, like parking lots. And then I also have a question around, okay, so some of these parks have, like Samaria and Carr Park, have halls that are rented. Does the revenue for those go back to the parks for maintenance, or do they just go to a general fund for the township? Because that seems a little unreasonable if none of the revenue goes back to maintaining something that actually generates revenue for the township. Just some questions in general, but I don't know the answers to.
All the gazebos are rentable as well.
Do you have something to add, or? Yeah.
I can answer about the revenue for the parks. I don't have the exact figures here with me right now, but I believe it costs about $275,000 just for the daily operating maintenance of the parks. The park revenue for the rentals is maybe $40,000. I can't know exactly. Around there, somewhere, give or take. So yes, the township does fund the parks pretty fully. So that revenue that does come in from the rentals does go in the general fund, but then we take another $200,000 out of the general fund and give it back to the parks.
How much did the parks spend in 2025, or money was allocated to the parks?
I do not have that with me right now.
Ballpark?
It's generally between that 250, 270,000, somewhere in that range.
And that's typically what our budget is for the year.
Yes.
It's about the budget?
That's just the operating, that's the lights, the maintenance, but it's not the actual maintenance budget. That's kept in a different fund. That right now is about $80,000, and I think they've only spent $2,000 of that so far this year. That does bring up another point. You're talking about Wheeler Preserve. Cutting those trees down will not be a capital item. That will come out of the maintenance budget, and that money's currently there available right now.
What were capital expenditures then?
Wheeler Park, you're not going to have a capital.
All right, that's fine, but I'm just saying in general for all the parks last year.
Capital improvements.
Oh,
Capital expenditures?
Well, for last budget
I'm just
year-
curious, what do the parks cost the township?
I'll give you the actual budget. You wouldn't happen to have that on your laptop, would you?
No, because I just have what's on my flash drive.
Yep. So I do not have the exact numbers, but there was no capital projects, I believe, last year. The money was not spent.
I guess some of my questions would be, what I would like to see also in the park, right? We keep expanding our parks, but we don't have funds to maintain all the parks we have. Like I'm thinking Wheeler Preserve, Anstead Park. Those are all newer parks. I also look at the bottom of the list and I see 23 acres on West Samaria. It's vacant. Do we need that, right?
I can answer that.
Okay.
So that is part of Anstead Park in the that can be used in the future to expand the park. Currently, right now, that farmland is farmed, and that farmer does pay us rent on an annual basis to use that land.
Okay.
And he pays on a yearly basis. He pays January or February, and it's over $2,000 that he pays us.
I'd love to know what the township pays for the parks, including all the revenue that they bring in from rental of that field, from gazebo rentals.
The gazebos,
Give
I don't
me a
think
better
are rented.
idea of what I'm looking at here.
It's mainly just the pavilions and the halls that get rented. I know that both the halls, Cara and Samaria, they get rented for $350 each. That's for the day, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then the pavilions are $50 each for the day. The gazebos, those aren't listed as rentals.
Unless you know how many times they were rented, I can't do the math.
Yeah.
Well, the gazebos aren't listed on the website for
When I said gazebos, I meant the pavilion.
pavilions. Yeah, those are $50 each for those, and then $350 for the halls.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess some of the questions I have is, maybe it doesn't pertain to the CIP here, right? But there's potentially some opportunities, right? I think sometimes less is more. We keep adding, but we don't have the means or methodologies to maintain it all. It's no offense to the township, but we might need to think about if we want to continue to expand our parks, or what can we do? What type of investments could we make in the parks to make them easier to maintain so we're not spending so much every year? A CapEx project that'll bring some savings to long-term park maintenance.
So I get I've been thinking about this a lot over this last week, and it's been said, and I pushed a lot to get this CIP, and with the help of Mr. Miller, and getting the CIP to even be a thing at all. And now it's a thing. And I look at it now, and it's just, in my opinion, it's not what a CIP is intended to be in its overall sense, at least in the sense of like, what is this? This is, you didn't have a CIP of any sort for a very long time, and now you have tons of projects to do because I think there is money to maintain. It just hadn't been for a long, long time.
Amen.
And so now you're going, oh, okay, well, here's all these things. In my opinion, a CIP is, the purpose of it is very long-term. Not, all right, we got $1 million in the next 3 years that we got to spend. It should be things like some of these other things. Okay, the roof on this building. When's this roof going to need replaced? Is it going to need replaced? Yes. Start putting money away for it now. Not, let's fix all this stuff that's never been maintained for forever. And it's just, in my opinion, the parks need a millage because there's so much to do. And because there is money in a budget to maintain our parks, if they weren't dilapidated, if once things were caught up, it's there, and you have a CIP now to be able to take care of all these things long term. Then you're planning, and you're not just going, oh, we're going to start planning for this. Well, here's the laundry list of things that have never been taken care of, and that's what makes this so, like, not confusing, but the way that it is. It's like, all right, we're trying to figure this out, and it's in my opinion, it's because you're trying to figure something out that this isn't this process isn't intended for fixing all of these types of things. And as much as I would agree, I think we got some millages that make no sense, and I don't know why people vote for them. But I think there's also, I think we had a good review from the community that our parks are important, and I think that because there's so much to do, I think it needs a millage. And then you're looking, if you just cleared off all the parks things,
There's really not much.
there's not much. Yeah, and then you can start looking at it and go, oh, okay. Like, yeah, well, let's start looking at things that are 10, 15, 20 years down the line. Let's start saving for just the obvious, just like you do in your home finances. Do you have a refrigerator? Guess what? It's going to need replaced. You should start putting money away now so that you have money when it's time to replace it. Your roof, your car, all of those, all of that. That's basic financial literacy, and so it just makes it so challenging when you're going, all right, well, we got 15 things for next year. Like and it's just because this never existed. And it should have existed a long time ago. I think even legally it should have existed a long time ago, as far as I understand.
Everything you're saying is on point as far as this was neglected for years and years and years, and now you guys finally decided, hey, we need to do this, and now, wow, surprise, now you got all these projects to do that have been neglected for 20 plus years.
And, yeah.
Well, they were in
Sounds
the
about
back
right.
of somebody's mind, and the problem is that doesn't get communicated to the township, people who pay taxes. And this provides you cover if you have to go to the township and say, we need a millage really bad to support our parks that everybody values so much. Because if you don't follow a methodical way of tracking and anticipating costs, nobody's going to take you seriously, and they're going to vote it down.
Right.
But if you look at this, yeah, we're aware 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to run into these costs. And all this equipment that we're replacing now, that's going to have to be replaced in 20 years. That's going to go back on the CIP.
And that's how it should be. Like, yes, you yes, that's exactly how it should be.
I implore you, keep this on your parks agenda and bring it up specifically, talk about the CIP, and it should be park by park as each of you are assigned to the park.
Right.
You should speak in terms of the CIP. That should be part of what your reports are. And I applaud you for at least bringing it up at the meetings, and I thank you for coming tonight.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that there's an avenue now, because I don't think that I'd ever seen or knew that we didn't have in our general operating budget a way to maintain parks. It just didn't exist.
Anything.
It was on the
Anything
fly.
and everything.
It was on the fly.
This is so you didn't put money aside for that ever? No, there's no money put aside ever for anything.
How'd we build these things 20 years ago?
Villages.
Yes.
The other thing that we need to think about too that I never hear enough of is everyone wants to do a lot of great things and everyone has best intentions, but we also need to think long term. If I widen that road, I have to maintain that road 2x what I originally had to. If I add another park, well, now I've got 4 times or 1 extra park out of the 5 I had. Now I got 6. So we really need to think about that and rationalize it. When I also see some other things like a new storage building, do we need it? Those 23 acres, do we need it? We're paying, well, I guess I don't know if we're paying tax on it or not. Or like the Banner Oaks School, those are all things, they're nice. It's nice to have as a township, but is it necessary? Because at some point we have to maintain those and we've got to fork over cash to be able to manage it.
I mean, is that part of the discussion tonight? We got 10 or so items.
I think it's about the park tonight. But.
No, I'm saying we've got a list of items that the parks have on their list. Do we want to weigh in on the accuracy of whether they're essential, desirable?
Well, we're covered
Back to
in
Josh.
2026, and I would imagine 2027 is going to be tolerable, Bob? This 86,500, we can come up with that in 2 years?
I will say that this discussion moving forward from today is going to be for the fiscal year of 2027 when we take it back to the township board with the budget. I would encourage the commission maybe to ask Mr. Niederkorn to maybe have an appointment, schedule a meeting with Mr. Miller, and maybe get some answers to the questions of the revenue that's being brought in by the parks. You can give him direction on different things that you would like to see, and we can always have him come back again in September or October.
Yep, that is correct. So to answer your question, what you discussed tonight, next month, that will determine 2027.
Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Niederkorn or Mr. Miller?
I will say I'm not 100% in favor of millage just because I'm not in favor of increasing taxes, but I'm also not against and letting the people decide. If the people want to have a millage, then they can vote for it. So leave it up to the voters.
I don't like
Lake Erie
taxes
Transit
either.
millage.
But I understand how important parks are. I
Right.
don't have kids that would use them, but I understand its importance to the community.
I know that having a millage could expedite and get these projects sped up for sure. But like I said, I think it's just best to let the people decide if they want that or not. So.
I agree with you, Mr. Lake. I call it the Toledo Metro Park phenomenon. They just keep growing and growing, and everybody's happy to pay for millages, but sooner or later they're going to break. You just keep adding more and more to maintain. And I don't think that's the goal or aim of this Parks Board, but
I mean, we've already got enough to take care of.
It's vitally important to consider because I mean, paving a parking lot, I mean, like Car Park, White Park, paving those parking lots.
Armaloo too.
All right, that's which you're already maintaining what they are, but you're increasing that. Anything and everything, the maintenance of it is so essential and is very often, if not exclusively, ignored when making these types of decisions. So it's a fantastic point to be made.
keep being diligent about finding grant money. It's amazing where money comes from for certain things. But.
In the meantime, I'm going to keep you guys in the loop, emails and what. The next week or so, you should start seeing some info from me as far as some of these playscape companies, getting ideas from them as far as quotes and whatnot, figuring out designs, what designs we like, and then also even just some of the initial costs of, okay, what's our installation costs, shipping, and engineering. And if they do engineer them, great.
Estimated
Less we got it.
longevity.
Yeah, less we have to deal with Mannequin Smith as well, and we know they can take their sweet time. Trust me.
I was just going to, again, reiterate, if the commission wants Mr. Niederkorn to do anything further to bring anything back before another discussion on it, I would encourage you to give him direction tonight, so that gives him ample time to do so. Maybe information on the revenue, maybe information on bringing up to the Park Commission, again, if the commission feels maybe discussion on a millage should be something further discussed, but I would give him direction on what your intentions are for him for when he comes back.
You're going to find out how much the parks cost the township, maintenance, capital,
Yes, and rent revenue.
what kind of aggregate revenue it generates.
Yeah.
Can I ask one thing? So a bit of a data nerd question, right? But bear with me. You know, when we do have the expenditures to maintain the parks, is it somewhat categorized or itemized, like this for cutting grass or this for, you know, cleaning out trash cans, something along those lines? Like, I don't know if there's just some general categories of expenditure.
There is some of that as well.
Do we have like a full P&L for the parks?
Yes, I do.
Essentially,
There's a way to
that would be
categorize it, yeah.
nice.
I will get you the full budget. I'll email it to Pat, Jody,
Yeah, I
Josh,
see the maintenance thing too.
and then they can distribute
Okay.
to everybody else.
And I'll tell you where I'm going with this is I'd love to understand like how much we're spending each year, how much revenue, you know, that's all good stuff. And then compare it against all of the items on this fund or in the CIP. And just, I'd love to know what the difference is, like how much of a shortfall would we really have to keep the parks truly up to date?
And is there any maintenance that could have been done to maybe extend the longevity of these playscapes that we didn't do?
They've been doing that for quite a while as far as expanding the longevity. I mean, like I said, we've been replacing parts on them for a while, and they just keep deteriorating. I know White and Carr need to be done. As far as I know, Parmalee and Samaria, are good right now. They're coming up on the list, as you can see, but we haven't had to replace any parts or have anything serious going on with those playscapes yet. But I know they're still being inspected and monitored if anything comes up at either Parmalee or Samaria. But those will be coming up later on the list. But I know White and Carr, it's been about time for those.
What are the biggest failures you're seeing on the playscapes?
Carr, we've had to replace a slide, and there was something else that happened over there. I can't remember what it was. But also at White, if you go over to White, there's two separate playscapes. You got the larger one for the bigger kids, and you have a small one for toddlers. The toddler playscape, one of the platforms that you stand on, the one that goes right to where the slide is, there is a hole in that platform that had to get patched with wood temporarily until a new platform was ordered and installed. So, and then there's another thing too. Craig had mentioned it at a previous township meeting. There was these little stool things that you step across that were loose.
I don't know how you describe them, what they are. They're like
But you know what I'm talking about.
Little walk across things that are like
Yeah.
anchored into the ground.
Yeah,
And
they swing
there's
out,
like
they're like little
6 of them,
stools.
and I think one of them still had an anchor on them. And
Yeah.
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
So you're seeing it's harder to get parts, right? I mean, they're back ordered. You're waiting weeks to get stuff anyways to make repairs.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time for them to, if they even have it in stock, it's great, but let all manufacture it. Shipping, how long is it going to take to get here? And then cost-wise, I mean, like I said, that playscape's 27 years old. That was built when I was, like 2-3 years old, So it's outdated for sure as far as that goes. So, I mean, yeah, getting parts is going to be a little challenging. It's going to take time. Yes, we were lucky enough to get the parts, but it wasn't like we had it later that week,
I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit here. I mean, stuff like that, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but they sound like maintenance items. A lot of them, that looks like this is the biggest expenditure you have. Does, a $1,200 slide warrant a $205,000 playscape replacement?
That's a good question. I don't know the rules on that type of thing either. Are there, and I don't know if anybody knows that, are there certain rules
I mean,
about,
I'm sure there's
about it's like stupid car seats?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
if we
you
don't-
could have a perfect car seat.
Right, but it's
and
expired.
It's illegal if it's expired, which is, we live in crazy world. But
everybody's too happy.
Right.
it's like for a playscape, is that I don't know if that's a thing. Oh, it's this old. It's illegal to have that slide.
You guys are assessing the equipment
know.
regularly.
And they get inspected
I think
every now and then.
I think those are very
But,
good points.
Maintenance knows what's up with them. Maintenance knows they're terrible. But, I mean, what I'm thinking too is I'm sure there are safety guidelines and safety standards to these playscapes these days compared to what, I mean, they've probably been progressed further than what they were back then when they were built. I mean, in a day and age where everybody's lawsuit happy, I mean, it's only going to take one thing to happen over there and someone's ready to come through the township. So
So do we have an established maintenance record or maintenance schedule of, we're checking it monthly, weekly, biweekly?
that I'm not
How
sure.
are you tracking it?
I'm not sure about how often they inspect them. I do know that we have replaced items on these playscapes, and I know there's records of that.
Each person on the Parks Board is responsible for a specific park, right?
Yes.
And they go there every so often and assess things, right?
We're supposed to, yeah. I have Samaria. That's my park.
Can one of your vendors provide a free training to any of the people on the Parks Board, like, hey, this is what you're going to look for on a playscape to make sure you don't have any health or safety or structural integrity violations on this?
I can check with Miracle, which Miracle is the manufacturer that has manufactured each of the playscapes that the township currently has, which is one vendor we're still looking into as far as replacement goes. So I can check with them as far as that goes for sure.
What are you seeing on the new equipment for a lifespan? Is it 20, 25 years? I guess that'll help us gauge better where this is.
At least 20 for sure.
I think it's,
Maybe even longer. It just depends on how well it's.
yeah, I'm just quiet tonight. I'll yell.
Do you want to repeat that?
More just seeing what the current manufacturer lifespans are that are recommended. I mean, that might help gauge things better, but I think it's like anything else. It has a useful life, and once you get to the end of that, it's, scrap.
Pretty much. I mean, right now what we have is probably going to be scrapped anyways. At least 20 years for sure, maybe longer. Just depends on what elements of the playscapes they are. And it depends on how well they're maintained, the manufacturing of them. I mean, those are all questions I can even ask them when I start consultation,
Yeah,
which is going to be happening in the next week or so.
They'll know.
So I can bring more info back to you guys the next time around, about a month or so.
So one more thing I'll bring up, and then I'll shut up about the parks. But we've got a public school system that maintains playscapes at multiple elementary schools. I would wonder what they do, if they do it any differently than we do it at the township level. If there's some collaboration, maybe some ideas of what you guys do. I'm not sure, but maybe worth a conversation.
I mean, I can check with them too. I know they are very, very well fiscally responsible. I mean, if you've
I don't know about that. I don't know about all that.
oh, more than what they used to be for sure.
Well, yeah, how they did it is they let everything fall apart, and then they passed a millage once they were able to get a millage to pass. And then so now you have tons of money, and you could say, look at all this, it's all nice and new, look what we did. But it's because you passed a millage, and for what was they failed the one millage, but then once they got a millage to pass, because I think I remember Douglas Road specifically. I remember hearing that the Douglas Road playscape was like a dangerous deal. I don't remember. I don't remember
Actually,
details.
my son was in the school during that, but they had a handicapped boy who couldn't access the playground, so his brother had a fundraiser, and they funded it for private donation.
To get to whatever that was, I just remember something about Douglas Road's playscape was a mess. I don't remember details.
Yeah, but that's what occurred at Douglas Road.
So they got
specifically.
did a fundraiser for it.
Yeah.
And they have a new inclusive playground. And one of the manufacturers I looked at, their brochures, they featured that new playscape in their brochure, Douglas Road's new playground. I've been over there. It's really nice. Definitely take some notes from that.
And I bet
It's an inclusive one.
some of those vendors may know funding sources for parks.
Yeah, and like I said, one of them, I forget which one it was, but there was a tab for grant funding, and they talk about how they can help with that. So that's something we're looking into. Like I said, everything we can do to save money and less burden on the taxpayers.
Anybody else?
If I may add something, I don't know if I overstep here, Mr. Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, but by next meeting, when you come back, could you give us some kind of maintenance schedule moving forward of, what's going to be inspected and what the timeline would look like?
As far as what the current inspection time is on the current playscapes currently?
Yeah, just, we're going to check these playscapes monthly. We reached out to this vendor, here's what we're looking for, here's how we can maintain it better, and, how we're going to move forward.
Yeah, I can do that. Start making those phone calls.
I'll shut up about maintenance now, I promise.
Anybody
Totally
else?
fine. I'm here.
Well, in all fairness, and their defense, that's an interesting situation and relationship as well, because they don't have their own maintenance department.
Right.
So they're handcuffed, at least in a certain degree. Now, I think there's been a good working relationship between those, but they're in reliance on the township's maintenance department, which has their own time limits and available of like what they're trying to maintain. So I don't know if that's even that's almost more of a question for the maintenance department in accordance with
if we can get the maintenance department
Or-
once a month or, once every other month instead of once every 6 months or 9 months,
Right.
then somebody's already fallen and gotten hurt. Just so we can say, yes, we noticed it on this date, addressed it on this date, and it was fixed on this date.
Or is it one of those things that Miracle will have to come out and have one of their representatives come?
I mean, lean on your
That's
vendors
one
for
thing,
training.
too.
Vendors are great. A lot of them will work with you. And, they may walk you through and say, look, you may have another 5 years on this. You may have another 10 years, but these maintenance items need to be done.
Right.
So, like I said, I watch your meetings, and I think you do a great job. You got a lot of passion for it, which is, I think, missing in some meetings, so thank you
Yeah.
for doing that and
You're welcome.
coming here tonight. So, anybody else have any other questions?
Next meeting, when do you guys want me back?
You know when our next meeting is going to be?
For sure, September 24th.
September 24th?
And then when's the first one in October?
Guess it depends if we've got things on the agenda, right?
Be October 8th, October 22nd will be the two
Okay.
meetings in October.
I'm going
Okay.
to miss the 8th, so. How about October 22nd? Would that be acceptable? 'Cause I'd like to be here. Would that be all right? Give you enough?
Yeah. I'll keep you guys looped in on emails and should be able to have everything by then.
Send it to Jody and she'll disseminate what we need to know.
All right.
Cool.
So we're requesting the Park Commission back on October 22nd.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deal. Any other questions from anybody? All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
It's good. We'll have it on the screen.
Do you need to move the board?
No,
Okay.
but if you have it on a screen, it's also on their computers. Okay.
She just brought it for display so they could have it in case, probably in case any of the public was here too. It's a little bit clearer to see.
Knock me out of the
Which
camera.
one? Which one are we testing?
All right, moving on to
Your
item
left eye and then
8B, discussion on the master plan. Ms. Rector?
I'm actually going to let Ms. Fortin take all the information and any questions, and we can work through it. She can explain what the request is for tonight.
So Lucy Fortin from Manick and Smith Group.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. You may recall we had a joint meeting in May. We had a online survey, and I'm here tonight, and what you had in your packet is, I hope you're hearing me okay?
George will tell us.
Okay. With the complete draft master plan, it includes, a summary of the engagement and so far, as well as the goals and objectives and the future land use, a preliminary or draft, rather, future land use map. And those are the two, I think I tried to mention that in the memo. That's really what I'd like to focus on tonight, unless you have questions, of course. Because what you're asked to do tonight is really to approve this draft for public review. And so make a recommendation, and I provided you with his suggested motion, I think you must have received in the memo, that would kind of lay out the verbiage of that motion. It's required that the Township Board approve the master plan, the draft master plan for public review, for the 63-day required review. During that period, the master plan can be on the website, and it'll be emailed to adjacent communities, the county, and other required agencies per the law.
You're saying end of October?
The 63-day goes all the way to December.
63 days?
And the Township Board meeting, at which we're hoping to have this in front of, is the 16th.
Yes, we're looking to make the determination on the draft tonight to the Township Board to make a motion. I will request it on the September 16th meeting for the Township Board. We will look to then send it out to the reviewing agencies surrounding jurisdictions on September 18th, and that gives us a 63-day minimum till November 20th. Still time to bring it back to the Planning Commission before taking it to the Township Board because we have to have a public hearing.
So end of November is what we're looking at.
We're looking at November for the public hearing and then January for the Township Board for an approval.
So as far as comments and input, this is not your only chance. This is your first chance, really. And then during that period, let's keep talking about it and let's discuss this. However, we'll have to make it clear what's being changed from here on out. Once it's out to the public, And I like to think that you're happy with it before you approve it for distribution. And that what happens after that is just, refinement, perhaps. So, so this leads me to kind of introduce this document. I certainly don't want to go through the whole thing. And I just want to maybe point out what's the same, what's different from the previous version. And if you go to your table of contents, you will notice that much of the verbiage is similar, except I obviously refined it. I can't stand just copying exactly, even though it's work that I participated in previously 10 years ago. But it's much the same, the introduction. And then the regional setting and land use patterns also is again, updating the existing land use map, updating the issues and trends. And it's been combined. We combined both a couple of chapters into this particular one. Now, the chapter 3 and 4, which is community goals and objective and the future land use, which is what I really would like to focus on as far as discussion tonight, really lays out the community goals, the strategies, and then what we envision for future land use in the next 20 years in the township. What you'll see here is pretty much the same goals and objectives, the one that you actually voted on at the joint meetings, at the joint meeting in May. And then the strategies were pulled out. We tried to streamline, making simpler, and really put towards what I called sub-areas of the township, more geographic areas. And that's what you see on the pages 16 through 21. And then the sub-areas, if you pull that map on page, I believe 16 or 17, yes, this one, really kind of outline those geographic, and that's what we try to do, put the strategies, focus on these areas. So you have your agricultural preserve area, what's essentially ag. You have your ag 2 there, that's more of the rural, residential, agricultural preservation as well. You have your village centers in the fuchsia or hot pink there. And in red are your commercial nodes in areas, the DDA and various intersection in the township. And then the orange is multifamily, residential, and the big yellow blurb is what we call the suburban area, where you have your low residential density. As well as the higher density. So, and the gray at the corner, south corner, is the industrial. So those areas are where we focus our strategy because they make sense for a certain type of development. But they're essentially the same strategies before, streamlined and made more simple in the simple terms. And the bigger change, perhaps, is the elimination of the mixed-use category in the future land use map. This was really creating a lot of confusion for developers, and that's not what we're trying to do. So in order to simplify that, we try to be, first of all, your future land use now shows property lines, which makes it a little more precise. And also, we've eliminated that mixed-use category. Then the later chapter, implementation strategies, really has to do with how are we going to get there. That also has been updated and will keep being updated depending on how we change things from here on out. And then the background information, the appendices, if you will, the community description and community engagement, all of that was updated based on current data that's available through SEMCOG and other agencies. Those pages are 35 through 71, really. All the background information.
Get there, so in case they wanted to go to a specific page.
Right. So, I suggest I be quiet and listen to you, because this is what I'm here for, right? And so, as far as, let me reiterate maybe the next steps so that you're clear on the process. Tonight, you're being asked to approve and recommend Township Board approve for distribution the draft master plan in its entirety, the way it's presented, with changes that you may want tonight. On September 16, it would be, if you approve this, would be presented to the Township Board so that they can approve it for distribution. It would then go officially for public review, still in a draft form. On September 29th, we would reconvene and have a public open house, which we would focus on the future land use and the categories and hear anybody from the public, along with you if you have more comments. Then on October 22nd is another Planning Commission date at which we can discuss this further. And then we intend to have a public hearing after the public review period, which would lead us to December, your December meetings, where depending on how this process go. And once that's done and you approve the final version of the plan after the public hearing, then in January, we're asking the Township Board to adopt it as well. So again, I just want to be clear, we're going to make, if we want to make changes tonight, it's great. Any changes after tonight, after it goes for public review, we'll need to really clearly state what we did, how it differs. So, and make that final decision really after the public hearing.
Okay.
So I'll keep the list going.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Fortin? Mr. Andrews.
I was looking at your sub areas as you have them defined in this draft, and I was curious why you chose to go with. I'm on page. I guess there's a map on page 16. 16. Yep.
1-6.
And then there's write-ups for defining each of these as you continue through this section. But we have a dedicated section or corridor for Lewis Avenue. I was curious as to, should we consider including now as maybe a C-Corps road corridor that extends from, the southern border up maybe through the Lambertville Village District, because it's become probably a lot more developed since the last master plan and maybe matches some of the characteristics of what you describe in the Lewis Avenue corridor as you continue in the section. I think it's on page 19. Right now it's just kind of captured under commercial nodes, but I think there's a lot of attention at especially the Stearns and Secor, but really all of Secor Road, south of Concierge at least, between.
I think that's an interesting comment. And in fact, if you look at the future land use map, you'll see it kind of goes in that direction. However, from what I hear, is Secor is not intended to be quite as defined as Lewis Avenue, or as extensive a potential redevelopment, if you will, or expansion. But again, I'm open to that notion. Whether we want to make it, I think we're clear that Lewis Avenue has more of a commercial focus.
Sure.
Whether we want to say that for Secor, I don't think is I'm not sure we're ready for that. If you think you are, I think we should certainly bring it out there for discussion.
I might throw out there on that vein. I think we've kind of not a large township, limited resources, and if there's one area that should be by far a priority for the township is the Lewis Avenue corridor. It was built for development, and for some reason it's stunted every time something wants to go there. And we all have to acknowledge the reason why Secor and Stearns is built up like it has an anchor. You know, it's Kroger, everything built up around it. We probably won't accept having a big anchor like that over in that corridor. And I've pointed out there's a specific ordinance we have about building gas stations near schools, which I think needs to be rescinded or variance granted for that intersection, because it won't get built up as long as we have arcane rules like that that have no basis in science or any other reason. And until that starts to grow, we're still going to have the same problems we always do.
And I will suggest that there's plenty of stuff you need to review in your zoning ordinance. That is certainly for sure. There's also, I would think that's really pressing too, is looking at how you define your multifamily, your apartments. Are we wanting to be a city?
And I beg whoever is in charge going forward after I leave the Planning Commission in December, that we don't rely on people who just come in here and want to build apartment buildings. That is not an answer. It's a solution for Toledo's problem. And we should not grow our communities by building more apartment buildings. I really like the idea of these, what do you call it, missing middle type
Yes.
developments.
That's been talked about at statewide and in the planning world for quite a bit now.
And to brace ourselves for the coming retiree class of people coming up to Bedford from Toledo to live here. I love those kind of people. They contribute to community. They build community. And there's a little housing place on Eaglestone over by Quail Hollow. I can see something like that getting built up in the back of that northeast corner of Smith and Lewis, behind more retail type businesses. You know, that's what I envision. But again, it has to be the focus and high priority of our board, and anybody who wants to develop in Bedford, is to look at that area. But those are my thoughts. Anybody?
I'm cool on it staying missing.
What's that?
I'm cool on the missing middle staying missing. Same thing with like page on 17, the diversification of housing options. I'm not interested in either of those things in Bedford. That's my opinion.
Well, I think whether we like it or not, the middle is already here, right? If I think about the villa developments, that's essentially what those were designed for. And when you see who's buying those properties, it's typically people that are, kids are out of the house. But I do think, townhouses, condos, I look at the development that's on the corner of, I look at the development that's on the corner of, I think it's Dean and Secor. Yeah, I think developments like that might be missing, quite honestly. If, I look at myself when I was in my early 20s, married and having kids, I couldn't afford a single family home. That would have been a perfect opportunity.
It's a different world now. Brad, what did you say starter homes now run? Oh, wow. Starter homes.
It's not a starter home.
Not for most. Well, a lot of folks don't want yards and don't want to have to maintain space either. So it's kind of both sides of the coin here. I'll agree. I like the look of the development on Concierge and Dean over there, or that area. I think or Dean and Secor, and maybe more something like that's not a bad idea. Going to the corridors, though, Secor is a tough one. I really do agree that we should focus our efforts in one concentrated spot. The roads are there to support it. Secor, we're talking tens of millions of dollars would need to be invested in that area, just in the roads to get them up to par to be able to support that type of development.
Well, just to add, the other thing that's missing on Secor is the zoning. Lewis Avenue has commercial zoning.
That's all I was going to input, is to keep in mind that when you get down some of Secor Road, most of them are platted subdivisions that were back from 1920s. So down Secor going towards Smith, some of those are platted subdivisions. Not that they couldn't be made commercial in a rezoning process, but a lot of those homes are with a platted subdivision, where on Lewis Avenue, you are looking at a lot of commercial, even when you get closer to the village center of Temperance. Some of those homes are actually commercial. I think we had one come for a rezoning that was commercial, but more residential use. So I think that in the consideration of the Lewis Avenue corridor, building that up with commercial, I'm not sure of the desire of the township at this standpoint to move commercial more farther down on Secor Road.
It would not be good planning, in my opinion. And the other concern I have is, just having sitting in on the BZA for the last year and a half, I think we need to develop a master plan where our decisions are rooted in the master plan, as you mentioned in this a couple of places. But we need to stand up for our ordinances, and if you don't like the ordinances, change the ordinances. Just to change things willy-nilly because somebody wants something is not planning. And where it might be valuable to you, to your neighbor, it's not necessarily. And they may not see anything, but the property you bought, you have to live within those rules. But so anything we put in here has to be defended. Does anybody else have any other comments, suggestions for change?
Just a couple general comments. One, here's a question. For that open house on the 29th, and maybe this is more for Craig, is this going in, there's a township update coming out in the Bedford Press, I think, early September. Is that going to be in there? Or what kind of advertising is going to happen?
Well, we are planning on having the open house here at the township on September 29th at 6 to 8 at night, so we can allow activity for the public that can be available. We are going to mention it again here tonight at the end of the meeting. I have flyers. We are going to put it on Facebook. Township Board will address it at their meeting also on September 2nd or 3rd, whatever next Tuesday is, and then again on the 16th, but it is open to the public, and I do have flyers available. But we're not really required to actually do physical publication or anything on that until the public hearing, but you're more than welcome. If you need some flyers you want to hand out to anybody in the neighborhood of your neighborhood, by all means let us know. We will make those copies for you. But advertising, we're going to do it, at least have it posted downstairs in the township hall, and we will put it on the website as well.
Okay.
We hope we hope you show up.
But I wanted to make sure that it wasn't, until I informed you that it was an open house for the master plan, we weren't addressing it to the public until it was to the planning commission meeting. So that's why it's being advertised for tonight.
Okay. And then kind of two general comments here is, interesting to see that parks and connectivity related to sidewalks is a common theme, again, 10 years after the initial master plan. And quite frankly, we've done nothing to address that other than let our parks get dilapidated. So now we've got playscapes that need millions of dollars of repairs, and I don't know of one single public sidewalk we've built that wasn't required for a development. So I know there was a lot of talk with ARPA money. We didn't spend any of that on any of these items, but I'd like to, make a highlight that, again, the public has put a lot of weight on those items in the survey that we got back.
I'd love to ride my bike to Kroger without dodging traffic.
Sure.
Yeah.
We haven't had many new projects come into play. I think the Dollar General was the last one. And the Planning Commission did require them to have sidewalks.
I was just going to say that that's something on this board that you can require them. Mm-hmm. If they are not shown on the plan, you cannot waver from that and say, yes, they are. I will say, using the Dollar General, yes, the commission did require them. Zoning district by C3 allows sidewalks that may be required, but I informed the commission, Dollar General is more of a neighborhood type business, which is permitted in a C1, and the development should coincide with what the use is also when you design it. So yes, when designs come to this board, you can require sidewalks and not provide for any type of development to waiver from them and without seeking a variance.
So it's on you guys. Something comes up between now and December.
I guess so in general, that's kind of where I was going a little bit. I mean, if you read the language on page 19 defining the Lewis Avenue corridor, I guess to clarify, I wasn't advocating that we should make Secor Road the new commercial area within Bedford, but if you read some of the preferred development strategies, I think we could take a more intentional approach with how we develop that corridor, not necessarily changing its uses from commercial, but managing traffic flow, enhancing corridor safety. I mean, the reality is, Secor is one of the main throughways from Toledo. And there's talk of widening Secor. I don't know if it's going to happen. Do we want to have
Maybe.
that be
Next
its
50
own
years,
business?
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe before we die.
Next master plan, maybe, right?
Ugh.
But I don't know. I guess my point isn't so much to change or vary from what's shown for land use along Secor, but I mean, we have a variety of uses as you travel up Secor from Toledo into our township, and maybe having a more honed-in approach on how we want to develop that area.
Let me make a suggestion, if I can. If you look at the Secor area, really, what you're referring to is the line that would connect this Lambertville down to the state line, right? And connect those commercial nodes, those
I'm
areas.
talking, I guess, really from the Secor and Smith, but not even so much that. It's really the Stearns and Secor corridor up through the Village Center in Lambertville. You know, I live over in the Village Center in Lambertville. There's constant traffic.
From the DDA to Lambertville?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's
And I
sticks out
completely
to me.
agree with that.
'Cause as it's currently defined as a commercial node, like we're treating it the same way we're treating, Smith and Jackman and Secor and Smith. It's Stearns and Secor is kind of its own animal, all the way up to the Village Center of Lambertville.
And it would make sense that it's connected somehow.
Or yeah, I mean,
And
we would entertain that in a future development. That's
so my suggestion would be, because it's currently part of the suburban area, if you will, the yellow, to have maybe a strategy on page 17 that would address this, and take a look at these two areas that are so close and come up with a way to connect them. I mean, somehow I can come up with something that makes sense. It doesn't have to be commercial necessarily in nature. It could be residential. Maybe it's that missing middle, or more a denser or more of a medium density as opposed to a low density type development. Of course, it's already somewhat fully developed, right? So it's in case the opportunity presents itself in the next 25 years, 25 years, then that would be something one should consider. And I think the future land use is trying to address that in a way, because that's what you see as orange there.
right.
So I could add that strategy there, and maybe that would go align with what you're saying. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah. In general, it's the, if we're talking about sidewalks, I mean, that's probably one of the best places you could have sidewalks. I'm not saying I'm in favor, but in the township, there's so much traffic down Secor between the hardware store in Lambertville all the way to Kroger, right?
Yeah, it would be great.
I'd like to see what development on Lewis Avenue would do to diminish traffic on Secor.
Yeah, I mean, Kroger's not going away, though.
No.
Neither is anything that's over, Sidelines is booming, and all Sidelines subsidiaries over there on Secor.
You just wanted a Dunkin' Donuts.
No, that's, so yeah, I guess what I'm not in favor of is changing the proposed land uses to say all this suburban area should be made commercial along Secor. I guess I'm just saying maybe there's room to connect what you call the commercial node there, that is Stearns and Secor, up through that Village Center of Lambertville.
I think that's a great idea. Does everybody agree?
I think it is. That's like a lot of residential area up there.
Right.
And,
It is.
and it's not walkable, bikeable, really.
Not currently. I mean, though many do walk to Kroger, bike to Kroger, I would say it's not the safest option. It's poorly lit. So,
It's kind of hard to carry those big bags of cans.
well,
They're coming up.
You're getting further south. I
Yeah.
think some of those might be coming from
Oh,
Toledo.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what defines Smith and Jackman as a commercial node, but not Jackman and Stearns, where there's more commercial development and a lot of that commercial land at Smith and Jackman's going away to an unfavorable circular road, potentially? So there's not going to be a lot of developable land there left other than the funeral home. It's going to be the last business that is left there.
So you're saying maybe we can remove it?
I guess I'm just asking why it's identified as that, and I'm not saying we need to identify Stearns and Jackman as a commercial node. I think it's
Primarily, I think I try to marry also the, your.
Are you talking about this commercial node right here on Smith
Right.
and Jackman?
yeah, just kind of why is that a commercial node? Because there's only going to be one business left there in the future in the next year.
Well, I think because in the sense of it, it's the golf course, commercial. There was the going to be the potential of the roundabout. You have the funeral home, and then you have a PBO plaza there as well. So I would say that, yes, it is somewhat of a commercial node. There are some residential homes going to the west, and then there are the condos going to the east, and then you get to commercial. But I would say actually in the center of right now at Jackman and Smith, I would say, yes, it's still considered because there is the golf course on both sides of the road. Bedford Hills is over here, which is majority of the property, and then it actually goes on to the west side of Jackman before you get to the Ohio boundary. But then you have the funeral home, and then you also have, and going even on the north side of where the roundabout's going to be, those are actually two-family residential, not single-family. There are some
Real
RT
estate
there.
company there too.
Pardon me?
There's a real estate company there too, I think.
Yeah, right before you get to the north
Office.
side of it. So I think somewhat of that area is still considered maybe commercial, maybe not on that intersection being residential desired. And maybe we want to keep it still for commercial node just because it is the intent of the roundabout. I don't know about, the golf course is there, it's commercial, and then going to the east is still commercial. Going to the west is actually some two families on the north side.
duplexes.
I would argue there's a commercial node at the corner of Stearns and Jackman. With the Liberty Corners.
Pizza Primo and
Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to making that a commercial node either. You do have all that commercial. You have the church, and then you have Neil Hopkins and the hair salon. And then on the south side, you have the Plaza of Liberty Corners with also going to the east, you have the plaza, the strip mall plaza there too.
Yeah, that was more my question of why one, not the other, or why not both, or neither.
That's why we're here to talk, so you catch our mistakes.
Yeah, no,
It's not a
exactly.
mistake.
That's what we want to hear.
We don't want to encourage growth in a spot. We don't want to encourage growth.
No,
either,
and
so.
I think I appreciate the comment of making sure we're focusing like commercial in specific areas along Lewis, really, because that's your artery, your commercial artery. However, then, okay, do we want, obviously we have to recognize the DDA because it's the commercial, another huge commercial area. Do we even want the nodes? I mean, that's a good question that we should answer. Do we want these nodes to be recognized for future land use? Or do we want to actually not encourage them?
Personally, I would lean towards discouraging those two areas given the traffic situation. And the DDA exists as the DDA and has vacant commercial land and space available. And then we've got Lewis Avenue. But that's my opinion.
I agree with you. It needs to be funneled to larger areas as opposed to a lot of little areas.
I wouldn't
You can remove the nodes.
Just out of curiosity, when we focus in on the village centers, the purple ones, right? I think we're looking for more like mixed development.
Yeah, and if you read the description, I think you see that the mixed uses intent, that's really where it takes place. You can have residential, higher density residential, you can have commercial, neighborhood business. office and walkability, and that's what we want there. So yes, it doesn't preclude commercial there. However, I would suggest that some area is more of an agricultural focus compared to Lambertville or Temperance.
Anything else, anyone?
I'm just going to ask for clarification for Ms. Fortin. Are we just adding the other commercial node onto Stearns and Jackman, or did you determine you wanted to remove them?
We were going to remove them, I thought. We don't want to
Let's
put
remove.
focus on them. But I do want to emphasize what the priority should be for the next 5 years.
So the only one I would remove from page 16, really, in the sub-area map, if you will, or concept, really, is the two southern one. I will just remove those two little nodes at Smith and Secor and Smith and Jackman.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess if you read the definition that Lucy has in there for commercial nodes, though, like one of the preferred development strategies is number 2. This is page 18, Jody. It's to prevent scattered development. So to, I guess, take what are existing commercial uses and maybe not expand the boundary of those nodes, but
Not encourage anything outside of those.
yeah, it's acknowledgement that they exist, right? But the preferred development strategy, if we were to adhere to the master plan as it's written, would be to maybe not further break up areas like that or scatter development.
Right. And so that would be something you consider when a rezoning case come before you. Is there a better place in a township for this? And you had one. You had, like, what was it, a Duncan?
Duncan.
Yeah, right outside the DDA boundary.
Vacant land across the street.
On the south end of the south portion of the Lewis corridor, you refer to it as auto-oriented. What do you mean by that? Road.
Repeat that question?
You broke up the 3 sections, the north, middle, and then the south.
Yes.
And you referred to the south portion as auto-oriented. What did you mean by that?
Where's that at?
Page 19.
Auto-oriented,
Paragraph.
right.
Auto-oriented development on the south end.
And are you suggesting that it may not be so,
I
or,
just don't know what you mean by that.
well, that people need to, absolutely need a car, and you need the large, I guess you need a car everywhere in Bedford, frankly, but that's what auto-oriented really means. It's not your village commercial, it's your commercial that dictates the large parking lots. But, I mean,
When you get more to the south side of Lewis Avenue going towards Ohio, they do have sidewalks. So I would say once you get north, right now, because of the Dollar General, is really the only sidewalk moving north onto Lewis Avenue until you get closer to
Right, so
Temperance.
that's what you meant.
In downtown
It's a
Temperance.
throughway.
So it ends the auto-oriented development, right?
There's no crosswalks.
Or when you get to the south side, it's just more commercial. There's no, and there is the vacant land where the landscaping place used to be.
so I guess I'm trying to think what I had in mind, and I have to think back, right? I apologize. I think what I mean is that southern end really supports more traffic because it's wider. Don't we have a 5-lane coming to a 4
Right.
and a 3? That's really, and it's probably not worded appropriately. So I'll reword this in this way if that's what I meant.
I think that's a good idea. Just if we all have a different interpretation of that language, then we should get it clarified.
Yes.
Perfect.
Anyone else? Anything you want to add, Ms. Fortin?
No, I think I'm I can make those changes, no problem, and have that ready for the board on the 16th.
Okay.
Is there anything specific to the map that you would like to change at this point in time? I mean, you do have it included in the document and you can certainly keep discussing this, and we can tweak it in future meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Don't forget, we need a motion.
Oh, we do, don't we? Anybody care to make a motion?
Can I ask one more question? Lucy, you mentioned like some ordinance updates and stuff. Like, how bad or how many would we have to look at updating? Maybe it's like extreme case, like we should really revamp a lot of things to adopt this in the future, or maybe there's some here and there that we'd want to look at to make sure they align better.
I would start with you more what's needed now, right? I would say that frankly, I was kind of surprised that you didn't have better language for buffers between non-residential development and residential development. I think that's something that's clearly lacking in your zoning ordinance. I think redefining your multifamily district really is a must because there appears to be demand for this type of development. And we want to make sure it's done in a right way for Bedford, that it meets, particularly that now your resident really want to keep that rural, small town feel that they value.
What percent did? I thought you just cited it. I'm sorry.
No, I don't have the percent right there, but we know that that's what your residents want. So that too should be really something at the forefront of anything you consider. What do the residents want? So I think they were pretty clear.
Like
And you also see that it's fairly consistent with what happened when we last did a survey. Safety, small town, parks are right up there on what people value. It's clear also that people want a lot, but they don't want to pay for it, right? I think that's human nature.
Yeah, it is, and that's the trouble with coming up with certain kind of survey questions. It steers people towards something, but they don't have any flesh or skin in the game. And if you ask them to put skin in the game, maybe they're not going to prioritize that. And one thing that I always come back to is this emphasis on preserving farmland and agricultural area. And I notice it's 55% of the land area. Does that sound about right? And I wonder how important is that to people really? And
Well, I think a lot of people value agricultural preservation, but really what they mean is rural character.
That's interesting because I'm sorry to cut in, but that contradicts with a lot of the things we see at the BZA of everyone wanting smaller lots and not wanting to maintain 5 acres, which is why we came up with the Ag 2 zoning to help combat that issue. So it's just interesting to see that the subset of the survey results contradict a lot of the development patterns we've seen or requests for variances in those patterns.
to change zoning to build a house on an ag property to, split a parcel to do that. And it just seems like it's too easy to do that. It's a backdoor way of doing things as opposed to saying, all right, let's acknowledge people don't really care that we're 50% agricultural. Maybe we'd be good with 40%, 35%. I don't know. I don't know what the number is. But it's like we're doing things in a backward way to get things done that individuals want. And I think in the end it creates a mess and hodgepodge and looks silly and not planned well. But Mr. Lake, did you have something?
I thought I did, but I think I'm good.
Okay.
I wanted to add that regarding to the changes in the ordinance, I know Lucy spoke on the buffers and the requirements for multifamily. Those would be within our development and design standards, and that is a large portion of the ordinance, and that's what we'll be looking at for changes moving forward will be within the development and design standards of what's required during site plan approval. So that will definitely be something when it's presented, probably be more than 1 or 2 times for discussion. we won't dig into individual zoning districts at this point right now.
I'd just like to know also in general, what is the mood for agricultural demand? Do people demand to own farms so they can farm? Or as older generation retires from farming, are there kids getting into it? Somebody buying the land? I'm curious to know the answer to those kind of questions.
I think until public utilities move in that direction, I believe that will probably most likely stay farmland at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's where the difficulties come in. You have to have so much acreage for a well and septic, and then you're moving into that direction of still 330 and 5 acres with ag without being in that Ag 2 district. So
Yet people still want to redevelop ag to residential.
correct.
A lot of demand for that.
Yes.
That brought up another question that I forgot I had was there was some mention about infrastructure, water, sewer. Are there any challenges that you see with that? You know, I don't know that we have any plans to expand necessarily our infrastructure to the outskirts any, but kind of what's your take on that?
I think they've been already expanded in the last 5-10 years. And actually, the map that's included in the draft is not quite up to date. I'm waiting for information. And you'll have, as far as the sanitary sewer expansion that was just accomplished.
Water has been extended all the way to
yeah.
Samaria, all the way down Secor.
That's updated.
That's going to
at
be
this
an option for a property owner to tap in, whether they want to tap in, but the water lines have been extended from South County on Lewis Avenue.
Then I guess sewer is going to go up Dixie Highway all the way to Erie Mason School. Is that still in the works?
I'm
or
not sure.
That was something that was talked about with
During
some
commission.
ARPA money that was going to happen.
And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily affect us outside of revenue. Like that's increased revenue from Erie Township. That won't necessarily affect Bedford Township residents as far as sewer services. Maybe down the road, I guess, depending on what they do with that. But as of now, no, that was just for Erie Township tapping into ours. So we will get revenue from that, but that wouldn't be a service to Bedford Township residents, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I think there's a couple commercial properties on the east side I think that was going to hit because there was a development that needed that didn't go through over there, some economic development projects. But yeah, it's just curious about where we stood with that.
Okay, does somebody care to make a motion? You need help wording it?
Just to clarify, the only changes we're making is connecting that Lambertville Village to the Stearns and Secor corridor and the removal of the commercial nodes, correct?
Well, I asked to put a special emphasis on developing the Lewis Avenue corridor.
That as well.
I will let Lucy answer her comments that she wrote down, and if you have anything further, then please provide that to her.
So what I'm take away here is I'll take this document, update, the little things that have not been updated, such as the map for the sanitary sewer that I just mentioned. Remove the nodes from the sub-area maps, add a strategy in the suburban area addressing possible connectivity between the DDA area and the Lambertville Village Center. And clarify the language on page 19 to the auto-oriented southern segment of Lewis Avenue. I think that is all that I'm seeing as what you wanted as changes.
Do we need to remove the nodes? I mean, they exist. If you read the preferred development strategies, it's about improving traffic through those areas. It's about maximizing land efficiency, preventing scattered development. I don't think we're talking about two different maps. There's the future land use map, which I don't propose we add commercial uses in those areas, but these nodes exist. Do we want to take them off the map and have no direction as to how we want to develop those in the future?
How many businesses on a corner constitute a node? One?
Well, I think the ones we defined are.
I guess
She's saying they've missed some. They could add a ton of them. They'll be speckled all over the map.
Yeah, so I guess my opinion on that is if we're going to keep it, Stearns and Jackman should have a node.
Yeah, I agree.
But I disagree with calling the DDA a node. I think it needs a different designation because that is very intense commercial, and it's not handled the same way that we're going to handle Jackman and Smith or somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a consideration.
You know, that's easy to do because now we only have that. We can call it the commercial district or the Downtown Development Authority District, which is what it is.
Yeah, it's way more intense and a way different use and different how we'd handle that going forward versus these little scattered, 3-4 businesses on a corner that we have to handle.
So, and because we're eliminating the nodes, we're just talking about the DDA district.
Well, I think we can keep the nodes for those 3 areas, but I would move that we add the node at Jackman and Stearns to cover those 3 distinct clusters if we're going to keep them.
I guess I'm totally confused
I
now.
guess I'm confused. I thought we were eliminating the nodes and only keeping the DDA area.
Don't call the DDA area a node.
No, she's going to refer to it as the Downtown Development Authority.
What I'm advocating is that we keep the nodes as they're defined. We add Jackman and Stearns because they exist. And we should have we shouldn't treat those as suburban area because the way we would develop them in the future is different. I think the way you've written it up in the nodes, it makes sense. We want to prevent future scattered development. We want to maximize land efficiency. We want to improve traffic flow through those areas. We get rid of the nodes, we're just treating them like suburban areas, and traffic flow is not considered the same way if you're pulling into...
I'm not opposed to not getting rid of the nodes. That was the decision you made.
Oh, I'm not...
No, yeah.
I'm not trying to...
changing our
I thought we were adding Stearns and Jackman, and I'm not opposed to them being labeled as commercial nodes because they are. There is commercial at all 3 of those intersections. I don't agree with calling the DDA commercial node because it's a more intense, broad area of commercial. But I
think that's where we're at. Yeah, is add Stearns and Jackman.
Yes.
And then change the name for the DDA to something that's not commercial node.
Agreed.
Secor corridor.
Yeah, whatever
you want to call it. You can match the
corridor.
And I think some of the differences between the DDA and say the other, what we're calling 3 commercial nodes, are the other 3 commercial nodes are typically smaller, local businesses. They're not like your major chains, They're homegrown for the most part.
So do we want her to label the DDA as Secor Corridor or the DDA Downtown Development Authority area? Because it really is the DDA.
Oh, downtown district.
Well, I guess you could call it the DDA, but if we are making some kind of connection to the Village Center Lambertville, to not confuse the terms, that's maybe why I was throwing out something. The limits of the DDA, the limits of the Village Center Lambertville, and then you have a small piece in between you call a corridor. It's kind of like, well, you could just, I don't know.
So,
Yes, because that would still be outside. That would be outside the DDA if we connect those.
yeah, it's
that
in the
would not be
suburban
included
area,
in the
which is
DDA.
what I was
So
trying to talk about.
yes.
So
Secor corridor.
are we in agreement? 'Cause just to make sure I'm repeating and I'm saying this right. On page 16, to be precise, I will add a commercial node at Jackman and Stearns.
Yes.
I will relabel the commercial node that's a DDA as the DDA. And then on page 18, this category will be called DDA nodes, commercial DDA nodes and village center. Maybe just DDA nodes and village center. How's that? And it's commercial in focus.
I have a little heartburn with that one. Just a village center is much different than the DDA in terms of development.
She can't hear you.
A Camillage, gosh, put them together. Commercial center and village center are much different in operation, though. So I guess I have a little heartburn on categorizing those with the same strategies. I don't know how anyone else feels about that, and maybe that's not a bridge to cross tonight. We think about that one a little bit more. I would just assume they'd have different development strategies because we're looking for 2 different type of businesses and, residential versus non-residential and how they're handled.
Yeah, we don't want mixed use or We don't want multifamily necessarily in commercial nodes. Jackman and Stearns, we don't necessarily want apartment buildings, but maybe there's room in the village centers to have multifamily residential. So they may warrant their own separate sections. I
Okay.
think is what Kyle's saying.
Yes.
So do we want to group the DDA with the nodes or with the village center?
I think the DDA might be lumped more like the Lewis corridor.
Is its own development strategy.
Yeah, it's very similar.
We're adding subsections for you to write.
We are, but
Sorry.
they are uniquely different.
Yeah, they are. That's a good point.
The commercial node, it's not as large of a geographical area as the Lewis Avenue corridor, but it is treated similar to the Lewis Avenue corridor, right? It's been developed for a specific purpose. The commercial nodes have not. The village centers are not developed for that.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
I would even go on a limb as
I'm going to have to massage those strategies, though. And
Understood. I would even go on a limb as the DDA has different funding mechanisms to do things and more liberty to do things like sidewalks and connectivity that the other areas of the township don't have the ability to do based on the funding.
They don't. I would agree.
So there's a lot of different things that can happen in that DDA area, potentially.
Anyone reading this should know right out of the bat where the focus should be for the next 5 years. And I think we have to ask ourselves when we read through this, do we see that? We know what the focus is. Again, I'll go back to the Lewis Avenue corridor. So anyway, does anyone care to make a motion?
If no one else wants to do it, I'll read it off the page.
Oh, please.
All right, I will make a motion to approve with the changes discussed, and I don't think we need to go through them all again. I think we're all on the same page. The proposed Bedford Township Master Plan, and to submit the plan to the Township Board for authorization of its distribution to all adjacent municipalities, regional entities, and other required agencies for review and comment as provided by Michigan Planning Act, PA 33 of 2008. In accordance with the act, the proposed master plan will be available for public review for 63 days.
Support.
Okay, Mr. Lake supports. Mr. Andrews, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dersch,
Aye.
Mr. Lake,
Yes.
Mr. Trombley,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Mr. Andrews says aye, Mr. Helm,
Aye.
and Mr. Mahoney.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks again.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 9, public comment.
Don't make me set
We
my
have someone.
Don't make me set my timer.
Gail Kane, Temperance. All right, first off, thank you for allowing public comment time. We've been robbed of that at our township level. I wish we could have had, however, time after the parks and then time after the master plan because I have a lot for both. It's historical knowledge. It's just my being here for 50 plus years. I worked with the parks when we had nothing but rotted metal at Carr Park. And because of grants, and 2 grants, they received awards for that playscape. So you're talking back when Bob Schachman was on the township board. So you're talking a very long time ago. So it was a huge improvement. But it was because they did have a millage that they were able to achieve. And so at any rate, that's the whole part. I would encourage you to read the minutes from the previous 4 years. There is a lot of information in there, a lot of things that they tried to do, a lot of tit and tat between the township board and the duly elected park board. Those people are duly elected and they're paid. So you need to read those post meetings. They went to ARPA meetings, and sadly that was not ever recorded. So it's my word against their word and those of us others who sat through those meetings. But a lot of what the parks wanted to do, the ARPA committee was demanding that they spend money on Mannequin Smith explorations or development or drawings or whatever, and they didn't feel that it was right to spend money on something that they may not be given money for and the public that was at those meetings agreed. The ARPA funds were just not managed properly, in my opinion. And I can talk with Josh later. You got Michigan State. We had the Metro Parks involved over at Wheeler. They had to get special permission for a parking lot. That's how strict that family was on what they wanted that park to be. So it's a matter of green space. So when you go into all this stuff now with the master plan, and you're talking, and they do have a cell tower too that they collect money from, unless the township's taken that from them. But when you go into talking about your master plan and what the people want, sadly, there's nothing. I had nothing to look at before I came here, which is why I had to stand mute for your first public comment. I think that's wrong. I think the public deserves to see your packet before the meeting. I think we deserve to come up here early and look at papers if that's what we so desire. That's not transparency, and it's not full disclosure. I understand why it may or may not be, but yeah, I want to see what that survey result said. Not after the meeting, but before the meeting. Sidewalks, they have to be shoveled, and that's part of the opposition. If you want to see connectivity, go to Northville. You're talking an upscale urban sprawl area that combines all of what we have. And the connectivity goes between a park and a subdivision, and the subdivision to the park or to the golf course. That's the connectivity. Putting sidewalks down Monroe Road and then expecting somebody to shovel them is not going to happen. You don't even get the apartments at Dean and Seacourt to shovel those sidewalks. They're not cleared. All winter they were full of snow. So in the big pictures of the master plan, I suggest somebody start going to the road committee. We're having a Seacourt Road project take place, whether you know about it or not. We lack having anybody going to those meetings on a regular basis to get that information. We didn't get input for the roundabout. It just happened, and that's been going since 2016. It took that long to get that process through. The DDA is not a given. That can be set aside at any given moment. So the Seacourt corridor was what Randy Pierce from the Road Commission spoke to, and that came from the state line all the way up to the overlay districts. Now you got your Lewis Avenue corridor. Where are you going to take it? The 5 lanes is strictly down at Stearns Road. You know, you got to remember what you do in those areas impacts your village overlay districts, and we're 3 separate areas. This is Bedford Township. There is nobody that lives in Bedford here. Nobody. There is no such town in this county. We are Samaria, Temperance, and Lambertville, and we're all different. And the overlays reflect that. So your Seacourt corridor can go up to Consier Road and go through that overlay and go through the DDA, which is its own separate animal. My opinion, it needs to be put aside. It's served its purpose. And then you have your corridor, which Randy Pierce said, don't do any more development at Seacourt and Stearns until you fix Seacourt and Smith. And that's how we got whacked into this roundabout. They wanted to put it there. So this is what happens when things aren't done properly. You end up in a mess. So we do have a dilemma. And there is a project going on, which most people probably don't know because we don't have a road committee. You got your farmers. You know, the farms, the goal should be to provide for all people that want to live in their own fashion of living, somehow, some way. And right now, if you want to put all rooftops, are you going to change your status to a city? Because that's what's going to happen. What rule says we have to take all of our green space and make it concrete? You're contributing to our climate change. And I think we bear a responsibility to my grandchildren and yours that we do something around here to start saving some of this somehow, some way. We don't have to have rooftops on everything. And I agree, it doesn't all have to be parks. I just went to the community college. They had a conversation, what are they going to do with it? And one of the big things was to put agricultural type things through that college because of what COVID did and what people are doing. They're staying home. They're teaching their kids at home. They're growing their own crops. They want to raise chickens. So, there's just a lot. Yeah. Well, you don't there's no time limit on here. It says I can speak, so I was combining first talk and second. So I appreciate your time and effort, and I will be following this. Good job. Keep it up, guys.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Josh Niedercore, 7948 Wiseman, Lambertville. The cell tower that we have that we also generate revenue on is located at Car Park monthly. We generate a check from them, $2,248.25 monthly. I'm the charger for the park, so I see all the invoices and revenue sheets for that and the rentals. As far as the Secor Road goes, I don't know if you knew or heard way back when, but there was also money in Lansing that was going to be set aside that we were going to get from Lansing to help with the widening project from the state line. They were trying to do it up to Stearns, up to the DDA. They're having an issue where that valley comes down at Section Road there. And as far as being able to get the easements and wide enough, especially with the creek that's down there. So from what I've heard last is that they're going to be able to get from the state line up to about where DeCapo is and all that right there just before White Street. So just keep your eyes on that too. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 10, information. Anything, Ms. Rector? You have the dates that we were talking about?
Yes. As of September 10th meeting, we have no items for the agenda unless the commission would like me to reach out to either the supervisor or the clerk to come and discuss the CIP. September 24th, we do have a public hearing scheduled for that meeting, and that is when, so please advise if you are unable to attend so I can let the applicant know if we are going to be short any members because it is a public hearing. If you have an ordinance book and you need updated Municode ordinance pages, please let Katrina know so she can get those copies to you to add to your ordinance book. Again, we will be having an open house for the master plan September 29th here at the Township Hall. We are going to utilize Conference Room C and the Township Boardroom. It's going to be from 6 to 8. You want me to make my
You had
comments and staff?
October 22nd too, right?
And then I have October 22nd for the Park Commission to come back.
Okay.
Do you want me to give my comments now too as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Montry for giving the clarification on the CIP about how it is somewhat confusing because we are kind of working backwards trying to get money for things that haven't been fixed in years. So I appreciated that explanation because I think it was very clear of why we're struggling with trying to figure out where money should be allocated because we're working with things that should have been replaced years ago. So I appreciated that. Thank you very much for taking the time and reviewing the master plan and giving your input and making changes and providing more input on that other than just the one meeting we had with the joint meeting and the survey. Hopefully I will see you all on the 24th and the 29th.
Okay, Ms. Ingram? Mr. Helm? Mr. Andrews?
Nothing.
Nothing for me. Mr. Lake?
Good.
Mr. Dersch?
I'll break it here. Since we were talking about the road commission, they do have a budget hearing, public hearing at 2 p.m. September 8th for the next year's fiscal budget, and that's at 840 South Telegraph in their boardroom. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Montry?
I guess it's kind of, that one's irrelevant. Never mind. I'm not going to say that one because we already discussed it and it's not CIP related with those tree removal. I did have a resident reach out to me and ask about an ordinance for driving golf carts on like, I don't know if neighborhood roads.
Regulated by state.
So how does that work then? And is there an ordinance or is there, so the guy that reached out is, I don't think he's completely paralyzed, but basically can't walk and wants to be able to ride his golf cart around on his little like side street. And he said, is that something that you guys would ever be able to make an ordinance that would allow that under certain circumstances or in certain areas or anything like that? And I said, well, I got a meeting coming up. I'll ask. But I think he even said something about it being state regulated.
It's regulated. We do not have an ordinance that regulates golf carts in subdivisions or any section line roads. It's going to be enforced by the sheriff's department. I believe it's looked at as a vehicle. So I believe you have to be 16, driver's license by the state. But there are state requirements. We do not have an ordinance. And I'll be honest, I don't know if it's going to be something that would have to be presented to the township board, but I don't know how we would regulate that as a township without having the sheriff. If we had an ordinance, if we had an ordinance call of someone saying someone's driving a golf cart in my neighborhood,
You got to call the police.
You have to call the police.
Call the sheriff's department.
You have to call the sheriff's
and
department.
If he's following proper procedure, they're allowed to.
I don't know if even,
There's
I
a
don't
whole
know.
You gotta
section
have a license
MCL.
plate on it or on.
There's a whole section in the MCL that
Yes.
gives you what you need to have to properly operate a vehicle
Okay.
on roads.
I
It
appreciate
surprised me. I was surprised, but it's there.
Okay. I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Oh, Mr. Tremblay?
Nothing from me, but just clarify on that, headlights, taillights, horn, turn signals, brake lights.
Is it a license plate? Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll let them know.
If it's motorized under a certain CC amount, then no.
With that, it's 9 p.m. We'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.